Reading through the Bible in 1 year, December 19th, 2nd Chronicles chapters 22 through 23, Revelation 10, Zechariah 6, and John chapter 9. Then the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Azariah, his youngest son, king in his place, because the troops that had come with the Arabs to the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, son of Joram, became king of Judah. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king. He reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, granddaughter of Omri. He walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother gave him evil advice. So he did what was evil in Yahweh's sight, like the house of Ahab, for they were his advisers after the death of his father, to his destruction. He also followed their advice and went with Joram, son of Israel's king Ahab, to fight against King Hazael of Aram in Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds they had inflicted on him in Ramoth Gilead, when he fought against King Hazael of Aram. Then Judah's king Ahaziah, son of Joram, went down to Jezreel to visit Joram, son of Ahab, since Joram was ill. Ahaziah's downfall came from God when he went to Joram. When he arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi, or Nimshi, whom Yahweh had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. Remember, he was a descendant of one of the members of Ahab's house. When Jehu executed a judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the rulers of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers who were serving Ahaziah, and he killed them. Then Jehu looked for Ahaziah, and Jehu's soldiers captured him. He was hiding in Samaria. So they brought Ahaziah to Jehu, and they killed him. The soldiers buried him, for they said, "He is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, who sought Yahweh with all his heart." So no one from the house of Ahaziah had the strength to rule the kingdom. When Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to annihilate all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. Jehoshabeath, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah, from the king's sons who were being killed, and put him in the one who nursed him in a bedroom. Now, Jehoshabeath was the daughter of King Joram, and the wife of the priest Jehoiada. Since she was Ahaziah's sister, she hid Joash from Athaliah so that she did not kill him. He was hiding with them in God's temple for 6 years, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Then, in the 7th year, Jehoiada summoned his courage and took the commanders of hundreds into a covenant with him: Azariah's son Joram, Ishmael son of Jehohanan, Azariah son of Obed, Maaseiah son of Adaiah, and Elishaphat son of Zichri. They made a circuit throughout Judah. They gathered the Levites from the cities of Judah and the family heads of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. Then the whole assembly made a covenant with the king in God's temple. Jehoiada said to them, "Here is the king's son. He will reign, just as Yahweh promised concerning David's sons. This is what you are to do. A third of you, priests and Levites, who are coming on duty on the Sabbath, are to be gatekeepers. A third are to be at the king's palace, and a third are to be at the foundation gate, and all the troops will be in the courtyards of Yahweh's temple. No one is to enter Yahweh's temple but the priests and those Levites who serve. They may enter because they are holy, but all the people are to obey the requirement of Yahweh. The Levites are to completely surround the king with weapons in hand. Anyone who enters the temple is to be put to death. Accompany the king in all his daily tasks." So the commanders of hundreds did everything the priest Jehoiada commanded. They each brought their men, those coming on duty on the Sabbath and those going off duty on the Sabbath, for the priest Jehoiada did not release the divisions. The priest Jehoiada gave to the commanders of hundreds King David's spears, shields, and quivers that were in God's temple. Then he stationed all the troops with their weapons in hand surrounding the king, from the right side of the temple to the left side, by the altar and by the temple. They brought out the king's son, put the crown on him, gave him the testimony, and made him king. Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and cried, "Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the noise from the troops, the guards, and those praising the king, she went to the troops in Yahweh's temple. As she looked, there was the king standing by his pillar at the entrance. The commanders and the trumpeters were by the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets, while the singers with musical instruments were leading the praise. Athaliah tore her clothing and screamed, "Treason! Treason!" Then the priest Jehoiada sent out the commanders of hundreds, those in charge of the army, saying, "Take her out between the ranks, and put anyone who follows her to death by the sword." For the priest had said, "Don't put her to death in Yahweh's temple." So they arrested her, as she went by the entrance of the horse gate to the king's palace, where they put her to death. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between himself, the king, and all the people, that they would be Yahweh's people. So all the people went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They smashed its altars and images and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, at the altars. Then Jehoiada put the oversight of Yahweh's temple into the hands of the Levitical priests, whom David had appointed over Yahweh's temple, to offer burnt offerings to Yahweh, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and song ordained by David. He stationed gatekeepers at the gates of Yahweh's temple, so that nothing unclean could enter for any reason. Then he took with him the commanders of hundreds, the nobles, the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the king down from Yahweh's temple. They entered the king's palace through the upper gate, and seated the king on the throne of the kingdom. All the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, for they had put Athaliah to death by the sword. Now, Revelation chapter 10. Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud, with a rainbow over his head. His face was like the sun, his legs were like pillars of fire, and he held a little scroll open in his hand. He put his right foot on the sea and his left on the land, showing that he has authority over both. And he called out with a loud voice like a roaring lion. When he cried out, the seven thunders raised their voices. When the seven thunders spoke, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Seal up what the seven thunders said, and do not write it down." Then the angel that I had seen standing on the sea and on the land, raised his right hand to heaven. He swore by the one who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and what is in it, the earth and what is in it, the sea and what is in it. There will no longer be a delay. But in the days when the seventh angel will blow his trumpet, then the mystery of God will be completed, as he announced to his servants, the prophets. Then the voice that I heard from heaven spoke to me again, and said, "Go, take the scroll that lies open in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land." So I went to the angel and asked him to give me the little scroll. He said to me, "Take and eat it. It will be bitter in your stomach, but it will be sweet as honey in your mouth." Then I took the little scroll from the angel's hand and ate it. It was sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I ate it, my stomach became bitter. Then they said to me, "You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, languages, and kings." Now Zechariah chapter 6. Then I looked up again and saw 4 chariots coming from between 2 mountains. The mountains were made of bronze. The first chariot had chestnut horses, the second chariot black horses, the third chariot white horses, and the fourth chariot dappled horses, all strong horses. So I inquired of the angel who was speaking with me, "What are these, my lord?" The angel told me, "These are the four spirits of heaven going out after presenting themselves to the Lord of the whole earth. The one with the black horses is going to the land of the north. The white horses are going after them, but the dappled horses are going to the land of the south." As the strong horses went out, they wanted to go patrol the earth, and Yahweh said, "Go, patrol the earth." So they patrolled the earth. Then he summoned me, saying, "See, those going to the land of the north have pacified my spirit in the northern land." Then the word of Yahweh came to me, "Take an offering from the exiles, from Heldai, Tobijah, and Jediah, there we go, who have arrived from Babylon, and go that same day to the house of Josiah the son of Zephaniah. Take silver and gold, make a crown, and place it on the head of Joshua son of Jehozadak, the high priest. You are to tell him, 'This is what the Lord of armies says. Here is a man whose name is Branch. He will branch out from his place and build Yahweh's temple. Yes, he will build Yahweh's temple. He will bear royal splendor and will sit on his throne and rule. There will be a priest on his throne, and there will be peaceful counsel between the two of them. The crown will reside in Yahweh's temple as a memorial to Heldai, Tobijah, Jediah, and Hen, son of Zephaniah. People who are far off will come and build Yahweh's temple, and you will know that the Lord of armies has sent me to you. This will happen when you fully obey Yahweh, your God." Pulling up the rest of the notes, and there you go. Now, John chapter 9. As Jesus was passing by, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" We've talked about this before. This is a common misconception that people are punished because of specific sins. Yes, it could absolutely happen that God does it to either curtail somebody from doing more sin or to teach somebody a lesson. But typically it's a result of the curse. However, just like Job's friends believed that everything he had coming to him was because of a result of some sort of wicked sin within him that he had committed, here the same thing is being asked. Verse 3, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned." Jesus answered. Now, this doesn't mean that they were sinless. It means they didn't sin to cause this to happen. This came about so that God's works might be displayed in him. We must do the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. After he said these things, he spit on the ground, made some mud from the saliva, and spread the mud on his eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he left, washed, and came back seeing. Now there's a lot of conjecture here. Nobody knows for certain, but it appears that the guy had been born without eyes. And so Jesus created eyes for him from the dust, just as God created us, human beings, and every living thing out of the dust of the earth. Now, we don't know that to be certain, just letting you know ahead of time. This is one of the things that most people think about when they see this. His neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar, because again, he was an adult, right, said, "Isn't the one who used to sit begging?" But some said he is the one. And others were saying, "No, but he looks like him." But he kept saying, "I'm the guy. I'm the one." So they asked him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, "The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went, washed, and received my sight." "Where is he?" they asked. "I don't know," he said. "When he left, he couldn't see." They brought the man who used to be blind to the Pharisees. Now, the day Jesus had made the mud and opened his eyes was a Sabbath day. Then the Pharisees asked him again how he received his sight. "He put mud on my eyes," he told them. "I washed and can see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God because he doesn't keep the Sabbath." But others were saying, "Well, how can a sinful man perform such signs?" And there was a division among them. Again, they asked the blind man, What do you say about him since he opened your eyes?" "He's a prophet," he said. The Jews did not believe this about him, that he was blind and received sight, until they summoned the parents of the one who had received his sight. They asked them, "Is this your son, the one you say was born blind? How then does he now see?" We know that this is our son and that he was born blind," his parents answered. "But we don't know how he now sees. And we don't know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself." His parents said these things because they were afraid of the Jews, since the Jews had already agreed that if anyone confessed Jesus as the Messiah, he would be banned from the synagogue. This is why his parents said, he's of age, ask him." So a second time they summoned the man who had been blind and told him, "Give glory to God," which basically means tell the truth. "We know this man is a sinner." He answered, "Whether or not he's a sinner, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind and now I can see." Then they asked him, "Well, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" "I already told you," he said, "and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? You don't want to become his disciples too, do you?" They ridiculed him. "You're that man's disciple, but we're Moses' disciples. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but this man, we don't know where he's from." "This is an amazing thing," the man told them. "You don't know where he's from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but if anyone is God-fearing and does his will, he listens to him." Throughout history, no one has ever heard of someone opening the eyes of somebody born blind. If this man were not from God, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Remember how we talked about yesterday when they start insulting you, they have nothing else to say? The Pharisees replied, "You were born entirely in sin." Again, assuming because he was born blind, right? "And are you trying to teach us?" And they threw him out. Jesus heard that they had thrown the man out, and when he found him, he asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" he asked. Jesus answered, "You have seen him." Get it? See? "In fact, he is the one speaking with you." "I believe, Lord," he said, and he worshiped him. Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, in order that those who do not see will see, and those who do see will become blind." Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these things and asked him, "We aren't blind too, are we?" "If you were blind," Jesus told them, "you wouldn't have sin. But now that you say, 'We see,' your sin remains." And that is all for today. So that is all the notes. That is all the reading. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.